Welcome to We Make Children's Books, the podcast that takes us to the imaginative minds of children's book authors and artists. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. We're excited to have back with us the internationally renowned and award-winning Vermont children's fiction author, J.L. Durona.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going? Yes.
It's going great, Barney. How are you?
I'm doing well, and this is your third time on the show, which means you officially get... Time? It is. You officially get the moniker friend of the show. So you get a logo that you'll be able to put on all your books. We'll send you complimentary temporary tattoos that you can wear, all that kind of stuff.
When do I get the lapel pin?
The lapel pin is when you're on for 10 times. It's only 3 times. You only get the temporary tattoo.
And is the gold watch when I officially retire from doing your podcast?
Yeah, so the 50th episode, then you'll get the golden watch. So
nice.
That part's easy. Yes.
Nice. So, okay. So I don't have to retire. I just have to. I basically have to write 50 books.
You know what? Then you're good. See, so you can do it. Richard Scarry wrote 400, so you can try to beat his record. See,
that's a lot of books.
The first time you were on the book, because you started writing your books back in 2020, and the first book you wrote was the Berge sisters tore the Neathersworth. Then you had, there it is. Then you had your second book, which was The Ghosts of Warble Hall. There it is. Yep. The award-winning book. I might add too. You see? And now we are on the Berge sisters and the Stone Hollow Circle.
Behold.
Look at that. Man, that's gorgeous. Let's look at that. Let's see.
To take this short opportunity to plug my artist, Blair Shed, who is a great cartoonist, great illustrator, and a fantastical friend.
That's true. And yeah, because he's also done like that Doctor Who comics as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to nail that guy down and do your book cover. So that's awesome. Yeah. So okay, so we'll jump right into it. And we do have a guest later on the show who is going to ask you some questions as well. And she hasn't been on in a while. She hasn't been on the show in a while. She's come on and asked, some of her more favored authors who would ask her some questions. That's my daughter Elizabeth, who is now 10. And she was one of your beta readers for the Stone Hollow Circle.
That's right.
Was that the one she did, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, so for our listeners out there and our viewers, it was amazing. So she was 9 at the time. She came in and she had a beta read session with J.L. Durona. She sat down. She had notes ready. She had a pen. She had some paper, and she kind of highlighted some of the questions she had. And
she definitely did. Yeah, she had some really great insights, and I was really grateful for them. Especially like most of my beta readers are people closer to my age. Definitely much older than 9 or 10, but and they can give you great insight, but they won't have the same kind of like questions or notice the same things that the kids will when they're reading it. So, and that's what always fascinates me. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with it yet, but the kiddos that have read it, that I have been able to talk to, some of the stuff that they notice or that they hang on to is always so fascinating to me.
Because they're looking at it through a different lens. They're looking at it through like a limited life experience. That's also full of wonder and imagination. That's why it's so fun and that's a good point. So if anybody out there is, writing children's books, having it beta read by your core demographic is really fun. So talk a little bit about, Lacey and Cal have grown over the course of the series. So talk to us. How do you feel the characters have evolved from book 1 to now book 3, and what can the readers expect from their character development?
Sure. So, Lacey and Cal, I would say that the first two books are primarily Lacey's story, and
Hmm.
Cal doesn't really evolve that much. We sort of like in the first book, they're separate. They're stepsisters. Lacey doesn't really like Cal because she's part of the new blended family and she still misses her mom, who passed away a few years prior. So she sort of refuses to be part of that new family dynamic. But in the events of Neither Swarth, they learn about each other, and Lacey learns primarily about Cal and how much it turns out that Cal has always wanted a sister, and they that sort of like idolized her when she was younger before their parents got married. So they learn about each other and like help each other out through the course of the story, and it's what really bonds them. Then in the second one, it's sort of like the closing of the gap between the first and the third. So Lacey still goes to boarding school, so even though she and Cal have connected, they're still separate physically, which still sort of gives that distance in the relationship. But the crux of Warble Hall is that Cal comes to visit Lacey, and they get trapped inside of one of the abandoned halls, which turns out to be haunted by ghosts. But in that adventure, Lacey realizes that she wants to be with her family full time. So it closes on her deciding that she wants to be with them full time and her leaving school. So the third one starts up with that adventure, that first adventure that they'll have together. And spoiler alert, it doesn't quite go as planned. Their plans for the expedition that they're taking with Cal's archaeologist mom is. They're denied access to the site because of vandalism. So then they end up separate from each other again because they branch off. And in this one, not only do we see Lacey's point of view, but we also see Cal's point of view in a primarily alternating chapters. So
Okay.
that's when we get to learn a lot more about Cal, and she has her own development throughout the story as well.
Lacey finds a new friend in this book, which creates tension between the sisters. So, how do you explore the themes of like friendship and loyalty and trust in this story?
Yeah, so both characters meet new friends
Mm,
pretty much right at the beginning of the story. So Lacey meets Faye, who is this kind of enigmatic girl that lives in the neighborhood, and they have a lot in common. So they sort of bond over that. But there's sort of this like the relationship causes a rift because Lacey wants to spend more time with this girl than she wants to spend with Cal. And in the meantime, Cal meets another girl from the neighborhood named Sophie, who is very different from her, very like talkative, very energetic, very like um, not adventurous per se, but very like outgoing and like braver than Cal is in terms of being able to like have interactions with people and not feel very awkward. Cal's very like stoic and very smart, but not very good at peopling. So through their relationship, it's sort of like a like contrasting each other. So like Lacey's relationship with Faye, sort of like drives her apart from her family, but Cal's relationship with Sophie kind of brings her into more of a three-dimensional person because she is sort of forced out of her comfort zone by this character. So by the end, she learns more about herself and about how to express what she wants and needs. As
So, without giving too much away, can you tease some of the mysterious elements that readers can encounter in the Stone Hollow Circle?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the first night that they are in the new house. So the premise of this one is that her Cal's mom is an archaeologist. So they go and they study these standing stones that have mysteriously appeared in the woods near this small town called Stone Hollow. So and that's what the circle is the circle of stones. They're denied access to the site, so the girls are pretty much left to their own devices. And almost immediately, Cal starts noticing that their neighbors are acting kind of fishy. There's weird lights that are coming from the basement. They keep really odd hours. They're digging up the ground in the middle of the night for no discernible reason. So Cal decides that she wants to investigate that. And in the course of that investigation, she's obviously treading somewhere that she doesn't necessarily belong. So she'll get into situations where maybe like bad guys kind of close in around her, and she has to figure out how to navigate both figuring out how to solve this mystery, but also keep herself safe from the dangers that treading into those dangerous places will inevitably place on her.
Do people have to read the first two books in order to read this one?
Technically, no. I would say, as the person who is selling the books, I definitely say that it is encouraged. And there is definitely some stuff from the previous books that is a lot, is much better served if you've read the previous ones. But I like to give the reader just enough information as to what happened previously so that you're not completely thrown into the story blind, but knowing, especially with this one, knowing what happened in the last two to lead up to how the family has connected would it would be a disservice if you read the third one without reading the previous two, but not impossible.
Is there a meta plot building for this? Like, do all the stories are separate, or they all? Is there a link between as? Is there a link of a larger plot that's happening?
So as of right now, the individual books have their own adventures that follow the
Right.
kids, but there is a chain that is forming. But as of right now, I'm sort of keeping it a bit mysterious. But it's
Okay.
definitely starting to escalate. I don't want to spoil anything, but they're near the end of this new book, this one right here. There is a very interesting revelation that sort of changes what you think the series might be about going forward. And
Okay.
if you read it and you see that, you sort of get the idea that yes, while the adventures in these first three stories are disparate, where like they may not have anything to do with each other in terms of like the villains or the locations, that there is something that is starting to build up that will connect them more. So the fourth one will definitely you'll want to know what happens in the previous ones in order to understand. But as of right now, you could enjoy them separately.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to have my guest interviewer come in and ask you a couple questions. So stay tuned. Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. Okay, so we are back, and so JL Durona, I have my guest interviewer here. Just gonna ask you a couple questions, and then we'll jump right back into other questions. So here you go. All right. So what are your questions you want to ask him?
How long have you been a writer?
How long have I been a writer? Well, I've been writing off and on since I was very little, but I didn't really start doing the whole like self-publishing and writing full books thing until around 2020. That's when I decided I wanted to try and do it full time.
How many books have you made?
I have written and published 3 so far, but I have finished a bunch of others that are not quite ready to be published yet. I want to go back and I want to fix them before I do that. But 3 officially published.
So listen, so Elizabeth was one of your beta readers for this last book.
That's right.
Did you have a question specifically about the Stone Hollow Circle that you wanted to ask him that's not giving away any of the plot?
Are there gonna be more adventures with the Stone Hollow Circle?
They're not specifically with the Stone Hollow Circle specifically, but there will be more adventures with the characters that are in it. So I am planning the 4th book right now. And you definitely get to read it if you want to before it's ready. So you can give me some notes. Was that going to be your next question? Can I read it?
Kind of. And also, what's the next book gonna be called?
The next book is called Vicious Cycle. It is separate from my other stories, so it's a bunch of different characters, and it's about a girl who finds a bicycle in a dumpster, and when she fishes it out, it turns out it's evil.
Okay. Are we gonna see the Bird Sisters again?
Definitely. Yep, that's the 4th one. And I'm not quite sure when that one will be coming out, but I am already planning for it.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You are a great interviewer.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so she did take some of my questions, so I do have to now edit a bit on what I got to do here. So my next question then, as an author, how have you evolved in your storytelling technique from book 1 to book 3?
Oh, man. Yeah, I was really hoping you were going to ask me this one, actually, because it has changed a lot. I have been all over the place. So the first book I sort of paced like a movie. It's way, like, maybe not way, but if you can see that, it's shorter than the rest of them. They're all short in general. I like to say it's all killer, no filler. But for that first one, I definitely thought of it more like a movie in my head. I sort of paced it out the way you would like a feature-length film, and I didn't really deviate from that too much. I sort of followed that, like, that hero's journey map, and I would say that I did that pretty much with the Ghosts of Warble Hall as well, but I did leave myself a little bit more room to be like more like free with how I laid things out. But overall, it has a similar kind of pace where it's pretty fast. With the Stone Hollow Circle, this was the first time I had ever attempted any kind of mystery. And so far, my comfort zone, which I will be going back to in the future for one of the stories I'm working on, is sort of that, like, that single setting survival kind of adventure where, like, the characters are stuck in one place and they have to escape while a bunch of, like, evil things are coming after them. But I would say that the biggest way, and I'm not really sure how this came about, but the biggest way that my process has changed is that I'm much freer now with my outlining than I used to be. Whereas when I first started, I would create an outline and I would need to get from point A to point B. And I would have it all kind of laid out to make sure that I didn't deviate from it, just to make sure that I didn't go too far off the rails. But now, especially with the story that I'm writing currently, I'm allowing myself to go a lot more off the rails because I don't want to lose that sense of, like, weirdness and whimsy that I think is the most important part for my books. My wife always mentions, so in the first book, there's a tunnel that Lacey has to go down that's basically made of meat. So it looks like packaged ground beef, and little eyeballs pop out from in between, and they kind of like whisper at her. And it's that kind of weirdness that I don't want to lose. And I was getting to a point where I was being so strict with my storytelling that I was starting to lose that. So luckily I've been able to kind of course correct, and I definitely feel more free about it than I used to. But I try to leave myself open to any kind of like developmental changes and anything that like, I don't ever want to pigeonhole myself into one type of like development or like outlining or anything like that, because I feel like that's when you get really complacent, and I don't want that to happen.
So, and I think you mentioned in your previous interviews you've been on too, is talk about what are some of the authors or creators who have influenced your storytelling?
Oh, sure. So definitely chief among them, it's probably the most basic answer I could possibly give, but R.L. Stine of Goosebumps fame. Those are the books that got me into reading when I was a kid. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was in my 30s, so it was really hard to get me to do anything I didn't want to do when I was younger. So the Goosebump books really got me into reading, along, not an inspiration necessarily, but like the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. Those are some of my favorites when I was young. But I'm feeling like there's a lot more contemporaries that I'm connecting with now. So like Laura Sneff of the Clackety fame. Her books are really great. She's got a trilogy out for that series. Mary Downing Han, who's obviously been around for a really long while. I only just discovered her work, and I'm finding that I'm really connecting with that as well. And someone who's slightly newer to the kind of spooky kidlit world is Wendy Paris, who did a book last year called Field of Screams, and then another one this year called Stage Fright, which are both very good. Just those would definitely be the ones I would cite primarily.
As Elizabeth asked you, you do have some Berge sisters on the way, and you got Vicious Cycle, which sounds kind of like a middle grade version of Carrie, almost.
Christine, but yes.
Christine, yes. The middle-aged version of Christine. Sorry,
and I can't fault you for that, because I do it all the time. Whenever whenever I'm explaining it, I'm like, it's a middle grade version of Carrie. No, it's not. Middle grade version of Christine. It's entirely different.
Entirely different. Yes.
Entirely different.
So listen. So looking at the you come on about every year around this time. You come on the show. So you're coming on again around Halloween next year?
The next book I'm actually planning as a summer release, so that'll be out in June. I don't know the exact date yet, just because I haven't sat down to figure it out, but I am planning on it being a summer release because it takes place during summer. And I feel like since it's like a kids on bikes adventure, and I guess depending on who you ask, it could be considered historical fiction, which makes me feel incredibly old because it takes place in 1994, which just, I've definitely been feeling my age lately. Like Weezer's first album turned 30 this year, and I'm pretty sure some dust flecked off of me when I figured that out. But yeah, so
1994 was 30 years ago. So in 1994, 30 years ago was 1964. So that does make you feel. Well, you know what? This has been a great conversation again, JL. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, and I look forward to having you come back on again in a few months.
I can't wait. Thanks so much for having me, Barney.